it's the same with like staying focused on something. I've had times when my flame is this big for what I'm doing, and it's almost extinguished. But the fact of the matter is, it's not extinguished.
Yeah.
And even a flame that small can keep things ignited for forever, as long as it never fully goes out. And I found myself in that position a lot.
It can still burn your house down.
All right, we are packed in. We're packed in tight here, guys.
It's like a plowman's sandwich, but without cheese, just bodybuilders instead.
Ready?
Yes, we're good.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to It's Just Bodybuilding from the 2025 Arnold Sports. We're here at the Mutant booth, of course. Remember to like, share, subscribe, comment, and...
Ring the bell. I need to do that. Ring the bell, guys. Ring the bell.
There we go. We got a special bell ringer, special guest bell ringer.
I do it about 4 times.
Of course, we got Dusty Hanshaw, the producer, Scott McNally, myself, Big Ron Partlow, and today's guest, James Hollingshead, back in the house, the shed.
Gentlemen, it's been a year.
Has it been a year? Yeah.
It's been a year already. You were sitting down in
yeah, we were on the fancy couches last
we
night.
had the sofa. I like this setup. This is quite nice. This is a bit different. I feel like
We're elevated.
you bit of peasants. No, yeah. No, it's quite nice. We're on like
you got a little British king element.
I do. I feel like Henry VIII on these.
Right.
Sorry.
When he says Henry VIII, it sounds cool. It does.
Just the way I pronounce it, like Henry.
Yeah.
Classy.
Yeah.
Can I just say before we even start, thank you for this opportunity again, guys.
Well, that's the thing about you, James, is you see everything as an opportunity, and that's one of the things that we enjoy about just certain people in the industry like to bitch and complain a little bit, and other people see everything as an opportunity, and that's the magic of this shit. But we love having you on, man. How are you feeling? Pregnant wife in tow. At the Arnold, you feel like you got a little bit bigger of a team following you around yet at this point?
Yeah, do you know what? Like from Yannicka having our child
with her,
from this being the first Arnold Classic, actually first bodybuilding show that I've had Stefan as part of the team and me being part of his team, to it being the first one where I'm with my current sponsors and stuff like that. It's been a really, really pleasant Arnold Classic. It's been a very pleasant 2025 and a very, very pleasant experience in general. I'm actually really, really pretty happy and relaxed and just enjoying it at the minute.
That's fantastic. So let's get we'll get the nuts and bolts out of the way first.
Yes.
So take us to the show and how you feel about, the physique you presented. Where do you think it falls in your kind of spectrum of looks that you've had over the years and tried to bring? What did you try to bring? What do you think the result was? That sort of thing.
So this show was obviously, again, first show where not only having Stefan here, but it's actually the first time I've had a coach on the same soil during the show when I'm doing it. So I was kind of excited to be able to have someone there as it happens, to be able to see the process and understand the process. And again, every coach is different. Some people can be on the same soil but not in the same room. It depends how attentive people are and how much they want to be involved in that moment or feel they need to be. And I'm sure that's client dependent. I'm either going to totally do everything myself or I'm going to want to be very involved. And fortunately for me, this experience was one where I spent a lot of the time, fortunately, having people like Stefan around me, watching things as they unfold and kind of just taking information and data down as we go, which is really what this was about. Because I said this before the podcast, you can't really mock run any of these things, because you could do something when there's not a show, but that then discredits all the other aspects like pressure, stress, environment, travel. So the only way you're really going to know whether you're going to figure out what's right for you is actually going through it. And that's why you can't really be afraid to attend or do shows and turn up. In regards to like the physique that I brought, I'll be honest with you, I haven't really looked much at anything, because I've kind of kept myself purposely in the now, because I'm trying to just take it all in and enjoy it. And me and Dusty had this conversation earlier, how sometimes it can all just happen so fast and you find yourself not having that been there. So I purposely kind of forced myself to be more present, and that is something I'll say that's been a lot easier doing when you have people here that kind of keep you in the moment. So again, having someone like Stefan around, or friends or family around, it keeps you in the room while it's all happening, because you're paying attention. So yeah, that's something that's been very important, and that's, physique aside, that's been a very, very good thing for me, I think, as a person, and I think it's going to be a very good thing going forward.
Oh, absolutely.
What about your environment? You recently, I don't know how much you want to talk about changing gyms, but you changed gyms and you made some changes there. What was the timeline on that? That was just recent, like last 3 months, right?
Yeah, so unfortunately, me and Jordan decided to separate ways when it comes to business and whatnot, because just things weren't, how we wanted them to be. So obviously that meant a change of environment for me, finding a different gym, finding a different location to make home. Took a couple of weeks to kind of figure it out, but fortunately enough, in quite close proximity to me, there's actually a gym called Darkside. It's a really cool gym owned by a gentleman called Adrian, who's a really, really sound chap, to be fair. I found that gym, and it's kind of old, shitty, spitty, sawdust, weights all over the floor, machines don't really have a home. My kind of place.
Sounds like a traditional basement.
My kind of place. I love it. I go in there.
Everything he was looking for.
Kind of sounds like Kings, to be honest.
Exactly. Like, there is something that I've been missing for a little while, and I can say it was even missing in my own gym, and I don't know if it would have come in my own gym, because unfortunately, when you're running a business, you probably wouldn't allow it to get to the point of which your personal preference would be priority.
Yeah.
So this is nice because it's not my own gym. It has my personal preference without being something I have to decide. So it has the sunbed there, like a weird old, these weird old gyms used to have. Posing room is sweatbox, brilliant, and all the equipment is, old Nautilus chain-driven stuff. Cybex, Icarian. It literally, if Ron was in there, he'd have a boner.
Basically, like Dorian could have trained there, is what it sounds like.
There's a saying, you don't want to own your own boat, you just want to go on other people's boat.
That's kind of what I figured out, actually, right now. Like, because people ask me, they're like, James, are you going to do another gym? I'm kind of like, probably not, because I've come to realize what I like and what I want. And it doesn't necessarily need to be mine. It just needs to be somewhere that I like to go, that feels... I do like a little bit of a social feel to it, in respect that when I go there, if like the owner or someone, you almost feel like you're contributing to their gym.
Yeah.
You want them to have benefit of your presence, and you want to be giving back in some way, because a lot of these guys, what they won't do is like charge you, for example, because you're a pro or whatever, which, I was offered to pay and whatnot, but for example, maybe I don't pay, but so I'm like, okay, well, if I don't pay, I'm at least going to help promote, and I want to express how good I think your gym is, and hopefully in return then your gym gets the business it deserves, and that people that are like me and like that kind of environment come and use it. And I have noticed this, so it's a busy little place, and it's a great place to train out of, and it's been refreshing. There's been some days where I've trained in there, and I've honestly been able to just stand still, breathe, look around and gone, man, there ain't nowhere I'd rather be right now, which I haven't had in a long time.
Yeah.
I suppose it's like someone who loves fucking cars, and they're in the car garage and they just stand there and look at all these old vintage cars, and it's like, and I've had that in the gym a few times.
That's wild. I heard you, I don't know what clip I saw, but you were saying about how you were having fun prepping. And was that ever gone before? Like, were you having shows that weren't fun before?
I think because of when you own a gym, sometimes, unfortunately, when you're trying to prep, there's also you've got your eyes that are on the prep, and you've got your eyes that are on trying to make business run as well as possible. And it was at the point where my attention was split very 50-50. So if I'm training, I'm trying to get into my sets and do my thing, I'm looking in the corner, and someone looks like they need help. So I'm like, okay, it's my responsibility to help, because you're in my environment that I've created for you that is meant to help you progress. So I can't ignore you. I want to come over and help, tutor you through a movement, give you the time that I think you deserve for being a paying member, etc., etc. Or other times it could be someone treating something, mistreating something, and you have to go and have a word. So, and there's a lot of situations where either one of those will happen, and they happen frequently. So when you're trying to train and prioritize, it is hard to switch off.
Sure.
So yeah, that was something that was becoming a little bit difficult, I won't lie. And I think it'd be a lot easier if you're not still competing. So I'm not saying it's not a good idea to own a gym. I think it's a great thing. I love owning a gym.
Don't do it.
Don't do it. But definitely, if you're still competing yourself, and your priority is competing, then you do have to take that into consideration.
I think that's with any business too. Contest prep, coaching people, anything you're doing, you have to balance it out.
Yeah, I think it's tough though, because when you're at the level James is at, you have to understand that Samson or the other guys he's competing against, they're not splitting focus. They're focused on one thing.
Yeah,
The same thing I ran into in my career was I had my stores.
Yep.
Bodybuilding was going well. And I said to myself, I was literally in Germany, finished a 10-hour day.
Yeah.
Now I'm getting on my computer for 3 hours working, and I'm like, the other bodybuilders aren't up right now. They're asleep.
Yeah.
And the other business owners aren't in Germany.
Right.
They're at home focusing on kicking my ass.
Yeah.
And I was like, me at 50% of both of these things gets murdered.
Yeah.
So I'm going to choose the one I'm worse at, which is bodybuilding, because I love it, and do it anyways.
It's interesting because you obviously use Samson as an example. He's always my example, actually. I focus. He's one person I don't mind shifting some of my focus towards in regards to drawing inspiration from, because I see how focused he is, and I respect it. And I think in the current crop of people, he's one of the most focused, and therefore, I think homing in a little bit of that energy that he has is very, very beneficial for you to take away from. So, yeah, he kind of teaches and educates and reminds you of how you've got to be if you want to be the best, because we've all seen the evolution he's had.
Yeah.
And that isn't coincidental. That's because of choosing habits and creating habits and putting himself in a headspace where priority is drawn towards the goal and the objective, and that is bodybuilding.
Are you disappointed that we don't have an Arnold UK on the books yet?
I am. But at the same time, I don't think too much about it, because I'm kind of like, this Arnold for me is the Arnold. And I'm like, this one always means a lot. And, being here last year was such a good time. And really for me, it's like my head just focuses on what shows are available, what are on the calendar. And I do think the Arnold UK is a good idea, but I think we in the UK need to kind of get off our asses and try and do something to make it work even better. I don't know if there's something else we can do or more we can do, but we need to collectively work together and make bodybuilding even better there. Because it has the environment there is great, but I wonder if, when push comes to shove and when we actually lay our cards out, how much do we really get behind it? I hope we do get behind it enough, because it's such a great thing. So hopefully it comes back at some point, because I think it deserves to, but I also think we need to play our part and make sure, we buy the tickets, we promote the shows, we have the right promoters, and we have the right people behind it that are truly actually passionate about bodybuilding.
How are you? I was talking to your wife yesterday, and she was just mentioning, I don't even know if I'm supposed to say this, but she was mentioning that you guys were looking at Norway.
That's like, Norway for Yannicka is like a potential future goal, and it's certainly one for me. But what I would say is it's not going to be. I don't think I'm ever going to be a permanent 100% resident somewhere all year, because of the nature of who I am. I would personally like to have a property in Norway as well, so that if my family wish to be in Norway while I'm considering working, I have to go on my travels, that I have options. Because I think bodybuilding, again, you've got to facilitate bodybuilding, and I love Norway, but it's not the best place for where I'm at in my career. It would detract the ability of what I can do at current.
You look like a Viking, though. I feel like your people belong there.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, I think like post-competitive career for sure. I'd love to have somewhere there that I spend maybe 6 months of the year. I'd love to have a home there. I think it's a beautiful country. There's family there. There's a lot of nice things about it. But and then I also wouldn't want to sacrifice some of the other places that I love as well, because I have a lot of love for obviously the UK certain areas, but I do also have like a lot of love for certain areas of the US as well. When I'm here, Texas, for example, with all the guys over in Dallas, always have a great time there. So I don't ever want to like switch off or lock off the idea of anything or anywhere. I don't like anything to be too final.
Yeah.
I'd rather actually, I'm always like this. Let me just do well enough that I don't have to choose, so that I have the options of doing things as and when.
Yeah.
So then I'm not restricted. But Norway's definitely part of the plan, for sure, in regards to that.
Tell us about the relationship with Gasp. You're going on like 6 years with them?
Well,
7?
it's funny because it's not actually contractually. I've only been with them for like 2. But this shows you where we're at. Like, I've always loved Gasp anyway. I've always been in communication with them. They would come to the UK. I'd always make myself available. I've been wearing Gasp since I was, in my teens. And I think that's why we developed an actual agreement, because it's very genuine. I was already doing and being Gasp before Gasp. It's part of who supported me. So there's like this really good respect there in that regard. So yeah, like I've actually contractually only been with Gasp for like 2 years. And they've been great. They've been fantastic. And that's why, again, I love Dallas as an area to kind of visit, because I have the option of, hanging around with the guys, doing content, trying on some new merchandise, promoting some stuff, and just getting treated really well. But the treatment is, it's a two-way thing. They're fantastic people. They feed you up. You've got legends in the team like Branch Warren. He always wants to jump in on a training session when I'm available and kicks the shit out of me. And that's really fun for me, because I grew up watching him and wanting to be like him. So yeah, Gasp for me is quite a big deal because of the people that are part of Gasp. It goes beyond just like the brand and the clothing. It's the people that are kind of part of it. So it's really good.
We always tell people that ask us, how do I get a sponsor? And we always tell them that, sponsors are looking for genuine people that actually use the products and wear the products and love the brand. And so when you see, Dusty and I see this a lot. Someone will be like, can you get us on Mutant? I want to get on Mutant. And you look at their Instagram and they're wearing, this company's shirt and they're using that company's protein. And there's no Mutant anywhere on, like they haven't like,
they've never taken their
They've
gear.
never even used.
They've never taken their
They've never
gear.
taken the gear.
You're not on the gear.
They're on other
Are
people's
you?
gear.
Well, Sean's a good example of that. Sean kicked the door down a Mutant for a decade
Yeah.
before we finally made the decision, and he came in, and as soon as he did, Ron and I got to look and go, see, he's been a Mutant the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to be it before you become it, like without asking for it. Don't ask. Like, it's not if you love something, if you genuinely have passion towards it, you'll support it and wear it or be it or use it. And then, what's more organic than that? There's nothing that's more organic than that. And then if someone then can look through your history and they go, oh, you know what? Damn, this guy was into what we do so long ago. He is, like say, he is what we're about, or she is what we're about.
Who are you looking up to now in this part of your career? And I'm not even talking about bodybuilders, but who are you looking to for inspiration? I know that James Hollingshead is a deep ocean, not a puddle. And I know that you probably are drawing inspiration from areas that I can't even guess, and people that I can't even guess. But what's motivating you? Like, some people are watching other sports, some people are reading, books about people, some people are watching certain podcasts. But who is there in your mind that you draw inspiration from in this, current phase of your career?
There's a lot of people, and it's like you might not even realize who these people are because it's part of your consumption daily. Because I draw different things from different people. Like, I'm into my gaming and stuff like that. And someone from the outside in be like, well, how does that have anything to do with this? But there'll be a trait to the person I'm watching, or a quality to them that I obviously resonate with, and there's a reason I'm watching them. And whatever that is, whether it's their dedication, their passion, their consistency, or their application to whatever they are trying to be about, normally that's the main draw for me from someone. So it's normally more something that's probably deeper rooted than something that's superficial on the surface. It's more about them as a person. So I wouldn't say I necessarily look at many people that are in sport right now.
Right.
I tend to look more towards people. It's funny, I'm looking at people that you would consider like lower class people that are trying on the come up. They're on the come up. So there's individuals that I watch online that I've seen progress growth in their field. They're average people, technically speaking, average people that are working their asses off. And all of a sudden, I'm starting to see them getting repaid for it. So, for example, there's a YouTuber I watch. It's a gentleman called Callum, and he lives in England. And he has a channel that just talks about retro gaming. But the man has been so consistent. He went from like 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. He's been putting out content and being very dedicated, spending a lot of time and effort into what he does. And he's at something like 25,000 subscribers now.
That's cool.
And I draw more from seeing him do that, because I'm like, man, I respect that, because that guy, he ain't getting paid thousands or millions to say any of this. He's probably not making any money from his YouTube. But the man's got a vision and a goal, and he's dedicated. So I think I'm actually starting to draw inspiration from people that from the outside would consider lesser, but they're not lesser. It's just that they have there's a more, I think,
Honest.
Yeah, there's an honesty to their drive. There's an honesty to their passion. and it's one that sometimes we lose behind us when we climb because we start to forget that that's where people start. So I'm actually taking a lot of inspiration now from people that are what I'd consider maybe back in the beginning phases, because they're honest and it's true. And now there are a lot of people further up that you can't tell if they're real anymore because, you know, we're showing a lot of things that we don't necessarily know how they even came about.
Yeah.
So it's organic. I don't know, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely,
yeah.
it does.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I like that you said like this guy's probably not making any money yet, but he's inspiring you to do that sort of stuff, because I think we see a lot of the opposite of that. You and I there's something that has come up with you several times that I've had people tell me I do, and it's I have the inability to put energy into stuff I don't care about. And I see that in you, because everything you always talk about, you only do the things you love. Like every single thing that you put time into is something that's part of Hollingshead's, picture of how you want to live your life. You know what I mean? So I even watched your stream the other day gaming. Remember I was on there commenting, like I pulled up YouTube and you were going live.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, I got to see this.
And it's interesting. I watch too, and I see crossover. You got gaming people, you got bodybuilding people, you kind of got gaming bodybuilding people.
Yeah, like there's a group of individuals that come into some of my live streams, and again, it's kind of like the whole kind of like honesty again. There isn't thousands in there.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to look back at the beginning, because you draw a lot more from the beginning. I'm like, these 30 people here right now, there's a truth to these people.
Yeah.
And it's not, I don't know, there's just something far more rewarding that's coming from looking back there than rather looking too up there.
Yeah.
Because I can look at someone that's got a book that's this thick and that's won awards for being such and such, but then the relatability factor starts to dissipate because, what got them there, and unless you sit there and read the whole book and figure it out from the beginning, you kind of don't know. So you're almost praising and worshipping someone that you don't even have any ideas about. Whereas these individuals now that I'm looking at, I'm starting to actually, it's weird, like I can draw that inspiration from them because I'm seeing it unfold in front of my eyes.
Yeah.
So I'm just
really cool.
like, again, it's like seeing a young bodybuilder, even like someone like without dropping names, but even like a Sam Sulek, to be fair.
Sure.
The dude's just doing his thing, and he's come here this weekend and he's won his pro card. And I think that's why people we've all managed to see him just do that beginning bit, the bit that matters.
Right.
And if you continue to be that way, then you can just continue to keep going. Like, I think we all just get a little bit too far ahead of ourselves sometimes on where we want to be and what we want to do. And sometimes that's just, a little bit too mind-boggling and out there. And then when you're too focused on there, man, like everything below you just doesn't make any fucking sense.
I'm hearing you say the same thing you're talking about this weekend. You said, I'm not even looking at the pictures yet. I'm just staying present. I'm staying in what's happening right now. You got your wife with you. You guys Stefan's been here. You guys are just hanging out. You're walking around doing the things that you do because the expo's still happening. It's not over yet, right?
Exactly. Yeah. But also, if speaking from any of us, when we did have our most success in whatever it was we were trying to do, during that time normally is when our passion was most rife and our daily habits were most present.
Yeah.
Right.
I know when I was coming up as a bodybuilder, the amount of tension and enjoyment I had in each day led to the result that I desired.
Yeah.
And it's, again, the problem that comes is the further you climb, the higher you get. You come further away from being able to be that way.
You get removed from that original
that original way. So if you can just draw yourself a little bit back to that, I think, I can't promise because I'm not Mr. Olympia, but I do think that is ultimately the formula to be able to go even further because, again, you're just not straying too far from the path.
Well, and yeah, regardless of where you go, you stay tuned in with the reason you loved it to begin with.
For sure.
Did you ever find, over the last few years, did you ever catch yourself not doing that as well as you are now? Where you were maybe just chasing and not just being in the moment, but enjoying the process because you were chasing the next thing.
Yeah, when I allowed for the stress to be the main factor, when I was like, okay, well, you've got to be at the Olympia, got to be here, got to be there. You need to have a big contract. What are you going to do? When you start stressing about financials or any of that stuff, you're thinking about all the end product, but you're not thinking about the process. any of that time I've allowed that to happen, and I have had that. I've had that happen a couple of times, but luckily for me, I think I've always been able to draw back. I've always been able to like identify when that's happening, and then go, you know what? Let your shoulders, depress a little bit, breathe, and take a moment, and try to then be more grateful again, and take a step back. I've had it happen a few times, but I've always managed to reset. It's the same with like staying focused on something. I've had times when my flame is this big for what I'm doing, and it's almost extinguished. But the fact of the matter is it's not extinguished.
Yeah.
And even a flame that small can keep things ignited for forever, as long as it never fully goes out. And I found myself in that position a lot.
It could still burn your house down.
Listen, smoking a cigarette and dropping it on the floor when you fall asleep on the carpet, you're still going to burn the house down. So as long as you got enough for the cigarette butt, you got the opportunity to still burn the house down.
I feel like there's the thing that I look at when I look at you. I was going to ask your view, but I realized no one can do that. When I talk to people about James and what draws them to you, it's the fact that as the younger guys that are coming up, they're trying to be there. You're really good at staying a bodybuilder and staying what everyone started out to be. Like, because when you look at some guys, and I'm not going to name names, but you don't know that they love it. And when we watch you, you can tell, like, when you go to the gym, you just love training. And when you love the diet, you just love the prep, the whole process. And I think that's what draws so many people to you, is because after during this success, and it's been, if you think about it, it's been real quick, the amount of success you've had, you've not lost track of that at all. And people really identify with that, because every time we bring you on the show, the feedback is always off the charts, because they're like, this guy is still where I'm at. They're just kind of getting ready for their first show or whatever. But here he is, a top guy, an Olympian guy with all these followings. And I think that that's a huge aspect, is you've stayed grounded in a way where when people walk up, they say, that's James, versus, oh my God, that's this guy that's on a mountain. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. And it's something very vital you said there, because I had this question come up to me a few times at like the meet and greet. Young gentlemen would come to me and say, look, I just want some advice. I'm kind of new to bodybuilding. I love it. I really enjoy it. And I just want some advice on how I can be the best I can be. And I just stopped them in their tracks right there, because I've said, you've already answered the question, because the answer is in the question is that I'm glad you came up to me and you said that you love it. Because the problem is when you get someone come up to you and say, look, I want to be a bodybuilder. How do I get good? And I don't hear that word, I love it. I don't hear those words. Because if that isn't if that isn't in play, then you're destined to not want to do this forever, because you're not doing it because of the passion and love. And I said it kind of like this. I was like, look, you're not going to know the right answers because you're going to make mistakes. But the great thing about loving something is even when mistakes are made, you still pursue it. So it's the same with a relationship. You can have a relationship with somebody you love, and you might cock up a couple of times. Something might not work out right, or you might do something stupid. But when you love each other, you go, you know what? Still love you, so let's make this work. And that, if you have that for bodybuilding, that's the most fundamental aspect. That is the one thing that matters. If nothing else matters, you will find the right answers eventually. It may take some time. There will be some hurdles. But the fact that you say you love it is the reason you will continue to do it. And I think that's the one thing that's kept me involved in it, is that truly deep down, like, I bleed bodybuilding. Like I know I love it, because I could talk about it and cry if I want to. It's that much of it's been such a surrogate parent for me through my life and through my experiences. Having my dad go when I'm young, and my mum being super busy. Bodybuilding for me, man, that was like everything that my dad wasn't. Bodybuilding was for me. All the macho manhood that I needed to draw or feel or experience, it came from going to the gym and seeing it in front of me, or being around individuals that I really aspired to being like, because they represented something to me that I felt was missing from my own upbringing, which was how to be a man.
Right. Yeah.
So it's the reason I can get really emotional about bodybuilding, because like I say, it was like half of my parentage. The part my mum was fundamental, and the part that she couldn't be. Honestly, bodybuilding filled that space for me. Not just because the people I met in it, because I met a lot of good people in it that did feel like fathers, but because it genuinely actually had that impact on me, and it gave me direction when I didn't have any. Because I didn't know what the hell I was going to do, and then one day I was just like, you know what? I'm putting it all in on bodybuilding, and bodybuilding's going to make me get to a position where I'm going to be able to look after my mum, and I'm going to be able to have a good life. And that was such a strong ambition and strong goal that I cared so much about it, I couldn't let myself not get there. I lost British championships. I won British championships. I didn't win the overall. Then I did win the overall. I weren't stopping till I got it, because again, like I said, when you love something, you don't stop till it's done.
I feel like one thing that kind of resonates regularly when we talk to you is the fact that not enough people experience hard things. And that's something that I found the gym teaches you. When you literally go in to experience something harder every day than you've done the day before, you're not just setting yourself up for bigger muscles or bigger, or higher strength feats. But the bottom line is life is hard. But when you purposely experience hard things on the daily, you're also more prepared for the hardships that life's throw at you because you've had it. I took our oldest daughter to get her first tattoo, and when they first started, I realized this is the most pain she's ever felt. And that's why this is so hard. Where with what we do, I've fallen asleep before getting tattooed because I'm like, oh, I've given myself more pain than this 100 times, Do you know what I say?
For me, it's weird. It's like you choose what weight you bear. And I'll be real with you. There's certain aspects of me that are very, very weak. There are parts of me that emotionally I'm not very strong with. And in compensation for that, I was like, well, I know something about myself, and I know that I've been willing to put myself under physical feats and try to build that part of me because I know I can't fix some other parts of me. I be real. I grew up and I had a problem with bedwetting until I was really old, way too old. You were not meant to be that age, put it that way.
Yeah.
And it made me I was so insecure and felt so weak physically. That I was like, okay, so I have to counteract this. I have to build upon something, a part of me to balance this out. And that's why the gym was so important for me, because as I got stronger in the gym and I built a body, whether it's the wrong or right thing, it felt like it balanced out those aspects of me that were perhaps once really in favor of one direction, and made me feel more well-grounded all around, rather than just being very one-sided. So
we get the wins, though. We get the wins from bodybuilding, and we learn we can be successful, and we can apply that to other areas too, right?
Well, yeah, you can, and it's like, okay, you can't, at the end of the day, we can't all be super great at everything.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that there are certain things you can be, so don't concentrate on what you're not great at. So basically, like, for example, I couldn't fix this issue with my bedwetting till I was quite old. So I was like, fuck, I'm not going to just sit and wallow on that. I'm going to go and win bodybuilding shows, because then that shit doesn't really matter that much because I'm fucking good at that.
Yeah.
Right.
So for me, it was a massive part of my growing up was trying to restore some balance to who and how I felt.
Yeah.
Again, that's why I say it's a pretty deep thing with me, bodybuilding, because it saved me in many ways during a lot of times of questionable moments in my life.
That's a big, Gary Vaynerchuk talks about that all the time. He talks about people will come to you and say, like, you're not very good at this thing. And if you could get 100% better at the thing you're not good at, your overall level that you improve goes up 1%.
Huh.
Or you could just say, fuck that, and pour into the thing that you're really, really good at. And if it goes up 1%, your life increases 50%.
Yeah.
So he's like, without, saying too much, just almost ignore the things that you're not in your hands and lean into the stuff that you're powerful at. And that's where your overall impact on yourself and on life goes to a much higher level.
Well, and that's also what creates individuality in people. Because if we're all trying to fill every single cup, then we're all just going to be a boring bunch of people that will have the same expression across the board. We're all going to be, okay, you're all pretty good at all of this, or this is what we all have to offer. Some people should peak in this area. Some people should peak in this area. That's what makes the world colourful and bright. So, James Hollingshead at one point, he's the guy that does 8-plate squats and wins pro shows. That's cool. That's you, man. Embrace it. Lean into that. Lean into that part of you. You're the guy that trains hard and does that. Those other parts of me that I wasn't very good at, don't even worry about chasing them, dude, because you ain't meant to be everything.
Right.
But you can be fucking good at something.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like, that's kind of what this is, And I said this to Evan earlier, like, the reason I bodybuild still now is because I've got as far as I have, and I'm like, let's lean into this, man.
Yeah.
Like, let's lean into it, because you've spent a lot of your life creating something and being something. It would be a shame not to, like, see it done.
Yeah.
So while you're healthy, while you're fresh, and while you've got the drive and you've got the love still, the love is the most important part.
Yep.
just see how far you can go, man.
And the fans love that, man. That's what the
Oh,
fans
yeah.
see in you, you know?
I hope so, and I hope they draw. You know, I've met some really great people this weekend. There's a lot of nice handshakes and stuff that's been done, and a lot of talking and whatnot. And you know, I've always looked at myself that I'm a pretty, you know, my existence is quite average in the sense that I never had the worst rate. I never grew up in a hard time, but I never had the most. And I feel like I'm like that kind of in most things. So I think I'm relatable enough for most people. So I'm just basically here to try, you know, I try to show that most people, if you want to be able to get to a certain point that's pretty good, like it is doable. Just because you kind of have an average start, you can have a better finish. And that's really my message for most people.
How has it been this weekend meeting people? Like, what's the response
It's been great, man. Like I say, it's I've seen some faces obviously that were here last year. The meet and greet, a lot of the same people, which is nice to see. Like repeat people that genuinely love things and they return, you know, because then you're like, okay, they are about this.
Yeah.
And then there's been a lot of new faces. I've been, you know, pretty busy. Like I was over on the other booth for my sponsor yesterday, and it was pretty full up, you know, and I was surprised because we don't really have a presence here in the US. So that was really, really nice for me to see that. But also nice for me to show that to them as a team, because obviously you want to, whoever you're representing, whoever you're part of the team, you do want to be of value. So that felt really good. And then obviously I was over at the gas booth all for like 15 minutes because I had to go and eat. But even in that 15 minutes, it's like boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
So I've met great people, but then obviously people I compete against every year, and every time I get to compete against them again, you build a little bit more on the relationship you already have with them.
Sure.
And that's always a joy, you know, like William, fantastic person. You know, Akeem, I talk to Akeem. Samson's obviously a good friend of mine. To be fair, like I talk to everybody, and every time you get to share the stage together, your level of respect goes up a few percent more. And because you're going through a part of your life and a moment in time, whether it be 5 years, 6 years, or whatever, however long that may last, where you will look back in a few years' time and you'll be like, these are the guys I shared quite a lot of time with.
Yeah.
And you can't not have respect for them because they're doing the same shit you're doing. So
important points for all of you in that time.
yeah,
you know?
for sure. We're like, you are currently right now doing the bodybuilding, because there's only a certain amount of people that are doing the bodybuilding on the pro level, and you're responsible.
Yeah.
So you guys turning up to these shows and making these shows as good as you can, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
So embrace it. Like I said, just embrace it, be proud of it, be happy of it, and be, most of all, be kind of, have gratitude towards the fact that you are in that position to do so. Because it's a great thing to have.
Speaking of the gratitude and stuff, how does it feel for you when people come up and explain the impact that you just being you has had on their life in a way that just kind of throws you back? Because I mean, I know you've had those moments where someone shows up and says, I followed you during this rough time of my life, and you had this huge impact. I mean, how does that feel when just living life your way has an impact that was not intended, but really people hit you with that stuff?
It's you know, it happens quite often, and I always try to say to people, like I always ask them back like what they've been through, because I kind of want to get an understanding of them as well, because there's probably something I can draw from them. So a lot of the time, you know, they're like, oh James, you've helped me because of this and that. So I feel like when I do have the opportunity and the time, I like to ask back, because sometimes they're going through some stuff that is actually like harder than what I consider I've been through or whatever. So I kind of say, you know what, role reversal here, bro. You need to take into account how inspirational you are for the thing you've done or been through, because some of these people are facing some really hard times. I'm just glad that it's a doorway, it's a gateway for them to open to that conversation.
Yeah.
To allow them to feel comfortable enough that they feel like they can do that. Because, you know, ultimately the best thing for anybody in this world is being able to feel like you can talk. So the fact that I'm someone's gateway to feeling comfortable enough to discuss something that's probably personal and quite deep to them, it makes me feel good, because I'm like, there's obviously a certain level of trust you've built in my character over the years. Even though you may not know me personally, you've watched me enough or you've listened to me enough that you feel safe in the space that I'm in. And growing up as a person that cares about people and also how you come across, there's probably nothing more important than that, because then you're like, okay, I'm definitely on the right path, because the person I want to be is that person. I've always wanted to be someone that people feel safe around and feel that they can talk to. So, you know, again, beyond the bodybuilding stage, that part is a very personal part to me that is important, and I'm glad that that is how it comes across, because it isn't forced. I don't do it on purpose. I'm not like, okay, I'm trying to be this way so you do feel that way. I'm just happy that naturally being me and being who I am has allowed for people to feel that way.
Well, we really appreciate you coming on the show.
We could do this for hours.
Yeah, we could do this for hours.
James, like, I'm starving.
Yeah, no, you're definitely one of the guests that I enjoy talking to, because you've got interesting things to say that I always take away from. Like,
I rob you blind during these, just so you know.
Yeah, whenever you're on the show, whenever you're on the show, the conversation lingers in my head for the rest of the day.
Yep.
Which is always something that I appreciate, because sometimes taking a picture. There you go. Because sometimes, the conversation doesn't with someone. You have a chat and it's over with, and that's it. You just move on.
And listen, again, like we said earlier about attributes of people, we need people like that as well. There has to be every type of person for things to be fun and fun and efficient. Because you could sit in a room with me and it's too long. Do you know what I mean? So you need maybe later today you need to come across one of those other guys that everything's short and sweet.
Right.
Just be prepared if something says James Hollingshead in the title, you're going to be around for probably an hour.
You're going to be.
It's going to be something.
You're going to be climbing Mount Kilimanjaro, or you're going to be swimming the English Channel, or you're going to be feeding homeless people for 3 months in Tibet, or there's going to be something crazy going on to find the depth of your humanity.
Absolutely.
But yeah, James, it's always awesome to see you. And I have to say, I'm not sure if I told the guys this, but that day I watched a live stream. Remember we were chatting about video games?
Yeah.
And I had a dream that I bought a PS5. And then I woke.
It's not a dream. It's not a dream. It's a
premonition.
It's a premonition. And I told Emily I got a PS5, and she just goes, "Oh God!" She walked out of the room. She's like, "The last thing you need is another hobby." She said. So I still might.
I'm getting if he's not getting one himself, I'm going to just order one. Do you have Amazon in?
Yes, yeah.
Just go on Amazon, get your home address.
It shows up at my door.
Get it shipped to you, and I say love from the shed. Bro.
I know. There's something that's telling me.
There'll be a copy of Call of Duty in there.
I got an itchy trigger finger all of a sudden. Yeah. Scott gets me to buy a Glock, and Dusty got me to do several other horrible things.
The only way you can really solve this, guys, is that anyone that watches this video has to comment below and basically just say, should Ron Partlow jump on to the Call of Duty scene on PS4?
They're boycotting it's just bodybuilding until he does.
Would you like him to, would you like us to play a few games?
I'm down to watch that.
But Scott McNally has to tell us our gun builds because he knows guns.
Oh, yeah.
So when we're building our guns, they have to be the Scott McNally special.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome.
Well, thanks for coming on, man.
Well, thank you.
Remember, James Hollingshead, follow him on Instagram. Of course you already are. If you're a bodybuilder, there's no bodybuilder worth his salt who's not following the shed. So remember to like, share, subscribe, comment, and
Ring the bell.
There you go.
Yes.
Remember, IamMutant.com, Dusty and Big Ron are your codes.
Take your gear.
Yes. And this episode's fueled by Mountain Dew, the champagne of water.
And I'm going to throw it out there right now. So Desert Eagle for everybody's loadout.
Okay.
Right. There you go. That's the one you want. Okay. Thanks, everybody. Remember, it's just bodybuilding.